Welcome back, Soulful Society, to Soulful of Wellness,
the multi-generational podcast brought to you by two functional imperfectionists
and certified coaches
who deliver tips to help you live your most authentic, balanced, and anxiety-free life.
This week, we are exploring the old adage, you are what you eat, but through a holistic lens, of course. We're going to discover new ways to improve wellness from not only a nutritional focus, but also upgrade our mental and emotional wellness as we bring awareness to the many avenues of consumption in our lives.
Thanks for being with us for another week of wellness goodness. If you are joining us here for the first time, welcome. We are very happy to have you with us.
We would love to have you as a regular listener, aka an official part of the Soulful Society. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing so that you'll get a new episode of Wellness Goodness delivered automatically every Thursday morning to your phone.
If you have been listening to Soulful of Wellness for a little while now, but you haven't gotten around to rating or reviewing the podcast, we would be most grateful if you could take the time to tap on that star and jot down a few words letting us know what you think about the podcast.
If you follow us on Instagram, you may have noticed one of our recent posts where we totally admitted that we don't really use that platform that often. It hadn't been resonating with us, to be honest. But recently we popped on and realized that you guys are communicating with us through our DMs. And we are blown away by your feedback and so grateful. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much. We love you. And secondly, it would be so amazing if you could put that in a review so that our other members of the Soulful Society and people considering joining could read that and really get a sense of what we're about here.
We absolutely love reading your messages. Kaylin sent me screenshots because, as I will likely mention a little bit later in the episode when we get to that portion of what we're talking about today, I will admit that I have not opened Instagram in a very long time, but Kaylin sent me the beautiful screenshots, and to say that they made me happy is a gross understatement. Like, I don't even know the words to tell you how warm and fuzzy and full of joy I felt when I read the messages that y'all DM'd to us. Elle, thank you for your kind words. You sparked today's episode with your episode topic idea. So shout out to you because this was your seed baby. Can you say that? Seed idea.
Yeah, for sure. I know it sounds kind of weird, seed baby, but it's true. It's true.
Seed.
You have planted the seed, Elle. Thank you so much. And we're excited to dive into today's topic as we discuss the effects of how what we consume and the choices about what we let in on a daily basis into our ether, into our lives, into our days impact how we feel, the entirety of our wellness, social, emotional, physical, all of it.
Yes, so since you sent that message, Kaylin and I have been doing a little monitoring of our own lives and trying to gain greater awareness and have more consciousness around the choices we're making, and more to the point, the impact those choices are having on us, on our mood and our outlook and all of it.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the different areas of your life, obviously the wellness wheel, of course, and just have an open discussion and dialogue around how this can really impact you from a holistic lens and give you some ideas and tools and tricks, of course. And for starters, let's talk about the soul level. Like, what are we consuming soulfully? Are we not consuming soulfully? Are we kind of just doing life on autopilot and not leaving room for that part of the wellness wheel that's so important, which when I think of soulful or for the soul, I think of joy. and authenticity. And that brings me to the episode that we did on hobbies. And the title had the word joy in it. And I just find that all of that is definitely connected.
I think if I had to give a nutshell version of my goal in life, it is to be happy. If upon my deathbed, I can reflect back and think, yeah, I was mostly happy most of the time, I will be able to consider my life a success, because that's what I want. That's what you're describing, is feeling the joy, just feeling the lightness of being happy. And I guess the flip side of that for me is the agitation and jitteriness that comes when my soul's not vibing right, when it's out of sync with my life. And I get this super uncomfortable jitteriness and unsettled, uncomfortable, feeling something's off, something's not right. I don't like how it feels, but sometimes I can't pinpoint where it's coming from. And this little experiment you and I have been conducting, getting information about what we're consuming, has been really helpful for me to be able to identify when there's that little disconnect, when things aren't calibrated and they're creating frequencies that just aren't feeling good to me. And I've been pretty successful just recently in pinpointing where I'm letting that into my life and being able to make small changes. These aren't big earth-shattering changes. They're just little tweaks I've been making that have had really beneficial outcomes.
So this is an interesting lens, right? Like, as we're talking on this episode about what we're consuming and how it's impacting our wellness, you're kind of taking it from this lens of, what am I not doing that is not nourishing my soul? Or conversely, what am I consuming that's working against fulfilling myself, fulfilling my spirit, activating a higher frequency, and stepping into my higher self and my greatest power?
Right. That's getting in the way of exactly what you just described. Something's interfering with my being successful at that.
I feel like this is why the soul lens and the level is a good place to start as we talk about, what we're consuming. Because in terms of talking about the soul, start to think about what lights you up inside. And it can literally be videos of animals. It can be comedy. It can be whatever it may be. Maybe you don't have a hobby, and check out our episode on that. Maybe we can talk more about, give you more ideas for starting a hobby. Because if you can just do something for the pleasure of it, no pressure, no productivity or goal in mind,
no concrete picture of what success will look like. Like you have with your wellness goals, we want a clear picture of what success will look like. The hobbies, the pure joy things, are kind of the opposite. Like, they don't need to have and someday I hope to achieve this element to them. It's just, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I do it because I have fun doing it. And if I don't improve, it doesn't matter. I probably won't even know, because I'm not tracking improvement. I'm just doing it for funsies.
This is especially important for the creatives. And this is a journey that is really present for me right now. Eliminating the pressure, the perfection is so difficult. I mean, we're all creators, right? But some of us, we really like artistic things, and our soul craves it so deeply, and perfectionism impedes that, right? I don't want to paint because it needs to be perfect. I don't want to get started on this project. And so, in terms of doing stuff for the soul and nourishing your soul and consuming things that are good for the soul, and reducing consumptions of things that wither away at the soul or don't give you that high frequency vibe. Pay attention to, are you inviting and allowing creativity in your life, and just being and doing and not attaching outcome to it.
I ruin all the good fun things for myself. I did this several times with things I genuinely loved to the point where I no longer genuinely loved them and sometimes didn't even like them anymore because I had ruined them for myself. I had taken the fun part out, and then it was about progress. It was about meeting targets. It was about reaching new levels.
Yeah, it's all about tapping into the feelings behind the choices or around the choices that you're making on a daily basis. How do you feel after doing that? And so in terms of what you're consuming or not consuming for the soul, I feel like in today's episode, take inventory in these different aspects of your life that we're going to go over, the concrete ones. Just taking inventory, like, how does this make me feel? Like, one of my good friends has a mood journal, and I find that to be really, really cool. It's her way of tapping in and checking in with herself. How am I feeling, and how are my habits affecting me on a soul level, emotional, and physically, of course. So a good place to start is to raise your personal awareness, a little data collection. So start to monitor your consuming habits for a week. So this is just a challenge that we're offering you. It's sort of to build that awareness muscle, because foundation of personal transformation is always awareness, is the first step. So notice how you feel after a particular experience, a particular habit, a choice, and then note what's missing or lacking. I feel like especially when it comes to the soul level, that's kind of what we're addressing right now. Like, what is missing? What is lacking? Are you feeling general, lethargy, anxiousness, jittery, restlessness, things like that? That may be a sign to you that you're not nourishing your soul.
Should we start with the obvious consumption?
Yes.
Food? I feel like that's what the brain naturally goes there. When you think, what are you consuming? You first think eating and drinking.
For sure. So obviously, Kit and I aren't nutritionists. Like, we can't tell you what's going to feel good for you. You know what feels good and what doesn't. But we know how to help you, hopefully, tap into figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. So here are just a few things that you and I practice, Kit, in terms of the food that we're consuming, and just some examples on illustrating on how your food can not only impact your physicality, but your mentality, your spirituality, just you as a whole human.
So I love this one that you taught me long ago. When you're going to eat something, a meal or even a snack, it doesn't have to be a big formal thing, have that pause before you start consuming and conjure up some positive energy. It's about the consciousness you put into what you're consuming. So if you have negative associations with what you're about to eat because you feel guilty, or you feel like you've already eaten enough, you shouldn't need to eat this now, or this isn't one of your, quote, healthy foods, pause on that. Is that a helpful emotion and something you want to take with you in this moment? And maybe you even want to make a different choice because of that. Or is this a conscious choice you're making and you can release the negative and enjoy what you're consuming?
Okay, so you're touching on two different practices that, sort of blend together a little bit. So putting good energy, intentionality, and consciousness around what you're eating. This is also a mindfulness technique, right? The plate's in front of you. Either someone else has cooked it or you've made it or whatever. Or it's a bag of chips or whatever. Taking that pause and that beat to thank yourself for feeding yourself, to say a blessing, to say a prayer, whatever resonates. That pause could be the difference in your physical digestion, which sounds wild, but it's true, right? When we're inhaling something, eating something really quickly or mindlessly, or doing something at the same time as eating, it can actually block chi and energy, but also physically our digestive system. Now, on another level, a lot of us, especially women, have guilty associations with certain foods. We have negative connotations. We've been taught this goes for men too. We've been taught that certain foods are quote unquote bad. Certain foods are no-nos. Certain foods are should nots. And we talk a lot about not shoulding yourself. That's what we learned at Georgetown. That also is another conscious practice. So when you sit with that food, whether it's an ice cream sundae, whether it's a huge bowl of French fries, candy, whatever it is that you perceive as a quote unquote labeled bad food, give up the guilt. Give up the guilt.
We have a whole bunch of associations with which category we put the food in. So it's not just about the food at that point. It's about us and who I am as a person. If I'm choosing one of the foods that's on my bad list, I am either weak or not healthy. And I'm sending those messages to myself as I'm consuming the food while consuming it anyway.
And you're sending that energy to the food. So you're just overall having a negative energy and a negative experience. It's doing the opposite of what saying the blessing or the sending good energy to the meal and to your digestive system.
Yeah.
It's putting in negative energy to what you're consuming. And then it becomes a negative experience for you. And then after you're done eating it, what are you left with? Guilt and shame? And then you didn't even enjoy the big ice cream sundae. You were just eating it with other emotions tangled and ingrained. And so when we make the conscious effort, I'm having the ice cream sundae, enjoy it. Put that energy into, I'm so excited for this ice cream sundae, and start rewiring that brain and dissolving old patterns and old negative connotations.
Then I guess the second part that I kind of melded in with that, because for me, I guess I do meld the two of my brain, is the paying attention to what I'm eating as I'm eating it. Because often for me, it's the lead up to eating it. By the time I'm eating it, my brain's moved on to the next thing. So I'm no longer even thinking about what I'm eating. To the point where I can't tell you how often I look around and go, wait, did I finish that? I don't remember finishing it. I don't see it here, so I guess I finished it. Or sometimes I find it and I'm like, oh, haha, got distracted. There's half my sandwich still sitting there. Meant to finish that. Thought I did. That's how little sometimes I'm paying attention.
Right. So how you consume your food is just as important as what you're consuming.
And it really makes a difference. Like, it seems like, oh, well, how can that matter? It matters.
So as far as what you're consuming, just mindfully pay attention to how certain foods or drinks make you feel. If your belly hurts all the time, that's your belly communicating. It's communicating with you that something isn't operating correctly or optimally, and just to take a look at that and maybe, get some help there or avoid that food for the time being. Also, what you're consuming, don't feel pressured by friends or family to eat or drink anything that you don't want to.
Yes. Set those firm personal boundaries. And how many times, show of hands out there, people, have you been out with friends in a social situation and somebody declares we're all doing shots and you don't want a shot, but oh my gosh, you would think you were, I don't know, suggesting some horrible thing instead of saying no thank you to a shot. I'm not a big person. I can't have that many. I don't want it to be like, whoop, down the hatch and done and it's over. I'd rather sip my drink.
Right. Try to practice that this holiday season. Stay true to yourself, politely decline, remove yourself from the situation if you can. And also, not a knock to our amazing grandmothers out there. We love you and we appreciate you and we know you mean well. But when you try to force that piece of pie down our throats, metaphorically, it's not the vibe, and the guilt trip just makes us feel way worse, and then we walk away super stuffed when we really didn't want that. And that's
with
just
a whole
an
bunch
example.
Of conflicting emotions inside. Because inside, I know, I'm thinking the number of bites of pie I have does not symbolize the amount of love I have for you. So please do not confuse the two, because it's already confusing enough for me.
Yes, definitely. So to wrap up the food section, in terms of what you're consuming, just be mindful of getting a variety of things in your diet. 80-20 rule always, 80% real natural foods, 20% whatever the hell you want. Does not matter. No guilt. Practice the no guilt with the Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard, but just try it. Just try it for this week as a little experiment. It really makes it taste even better.
This is like baby steps, but if the Sunday's too scary, what's not scary? Maybe it's a single scoop ice cream cone. Maybe it's just a big heaping spoonful of ice cream. If that's going to make you feel happy and feel like you got an ice cream treat and not feel scary at all or like you blew anything, then pick that one.
Amazing. All right, so next would be television and media. Watching what we're consuming. Yeah. So we don't necessarily want to watch the horror movie before bed unless like you're just someone who can handle that, and you know if you are. JC and I started this show called The Watcher on Netflix. It is so eerie and creepy that I have to watch something immediately after it before bed. So I need to be more conscious about it, but I'm so curious that I'm going to stick with it.
I'll throw books you read into that because I have read books, and this is a sign of a good book, by the way, when it so impacts me that I realize I'm in a kind of a funk, and I'm like, what is going on with me? Why do I feel this way? And I realize I'm so disturbed by the book I'm reading. And then I have to make a choice about what to do about that because I don't like how it feels, but it is a really good book. And sometimes it's just sitting down and finishing it so I can get through it. But that kind of goes into that same category of, is it worth it if it's really sending you spiraling?
Yeah, the theme is taking inventory, taking a look of how do I feel after I'm done with this, after I'm done consuming this show, this movie, this book. What does it bring out of me? How is it impacting me?
Yeah, very personal, only you can know by trying. There's certain reality shows that I just love that are just relaxing and mindless and silly, and I just completely enjoy watching them. And there are others that I can't watch. It makes me uncomfortable to see those particular people behaving the way they're behaving. And I can't explain it. I can't rationalize it. I don't know why some are okay and some are not. But I do know when I'm watching it, if it's for me or if it's just too cringy and I can't do it.
Not all reality shows are created equal. And this is coming from two people who are in love with reality TV. It is our guilty pleasure. It's not even a guilty pleasure. I just love it.
You can tell we don't even feel guilty about it anymore because we put it right on out there.
I'm like, just give me my trash TV. It brings me joy. But I do agree, right? There's a difference between binging British Bake Off show, which is just the most pleasant reality show I've ever
relaxing.
seen in my. It's just so, it gives me the warm
polite
and fuzzies.
People competing against each other, yet supporting each other, always being kind to each other.
It's magical.
I just love it. And I was thinking about this, Kaylin. You know how Netflix, you can skip intro, and on Hulu, you can't? And I think that's a major Hulu flaw because I'll watch the intro, the beginning of each new season of a show. But after that, I like to skip the intro. I just don't need to see it anymore, except for Great British Baking Show. I will watch that intro at the beginning of every single episode, and it just that music, I get this calm. It's like all natural Valium for me.
I get it. I think most people would get it. It's just the most pleasant show. So what's interesting too, right, especially as people who just binge and love reality TV show, there comes a time where I've been binging for too long.
Yes.
And I've realized I might need to switch gears. Sometimes it's okay, I need to turn off the television. But sometimes it's like, maybe I should switch to a scripted show. Something that I know is fake. Like maybe these reality dating shows and all this drama and fighting is just becoming too much negativity for my vibe.
Too much of even a good thing can be too much of the thing. So even when I'm enjoying a show, I know exactly what you're describing. And I know my tells. I know when I'm saturated and
what are they?
I start doing something else at the same time. If I realize I've been watching a show for a while and I'm also playing Free Cell Solitaire, I realize it's time to switch gears. That my brain is telling me I'm at maximum. I can't, no more. Like it's my brain's trying to point me in another direction.
Interesting.
I know, isn't it so interesting?
Yes, I do that too. So that's really interesting.
Yes,
theory.
It's not a conscious like, oh, let me start playing this at the same time. I find myself doing something else while still sitting on the sofa in front of the show. And I'm thinking, oh, wait, I know what this means.
And I love that quote you just said, because too much of a good thing can definitely be a bad thing in all aspects. So all categories, even too much salad, too much treating yourself, too much whatever. So ultimately, wellness is just searching for that balance as much as we can.
Yes.
So lastly, I'm like, should we talk about movement? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, let's talk about movement.
All right, let's talk about movement.
I think that's another category where too much of a good thing is just too much.
Most definitely. And your body will scream at you. Your body will tell you, even if it's just something that's more discreet, like not directly connected to working out. Let's say it's not even a physical injury. Let's just say you're getting irritable or panicky if you miss a workout, or just, attached to this habit or routine a little bit too much. Like you're on vacation and you can't find the right gym and it causes you to spiral. Just noticing things like that, attachments.
Or the same activities that used to bring you joy and used to make you feel happy or good about yourself or accomplished are now, not that they might still do that when you're finished, but it's the leading up to it time for me. It's the, I better get to this. If I don't do it now, I'm not going to have time to do it today. And, that can't be. And forcing myself to do things that I clearly am not in the mood to do, but I'm supposed to be doing them because they're fun and good for me and healthy. But I can take things to that militant place where I'm no longer listening to myself or being in tune with how I feel and what I want to be doing and how I want to be spending my time, because I've now crossed into this category of must get done each day. And I have to work really hard to be aware and strike the balance in between doing nothing and doing far too much. And that's
it's hard to find that balance.
Yeah, it's an alley I'm always looking for. I'm kind of wavering around on various edges of that alley and, trying to find the sweet spot in between.
Yeah. I think that's like a lifelong journey we're all on. Yeah. Where's the sweet spot?
Yeah.
And it is. It's about finding things that work for you and that make you feel good. I mean, ultimately, there's some healthy habits that are going to be hard for us to find that motivation. But then on the contrary, I like what you're talking about, because it's this idea of taking something too far. And is it resonating with you on a soul level or not? Are you militant and forcing yourself to do this because of external factors? Or is it, I need to do this to feel X or Y, or like I need this on a soul level, or I know my body deserves this. It's like paying attention to the language that you're using. You know, do I need to run to be skinny, or do I need to run because my body deserves some movement?
Oh, I like how you just said run to do something. This is a red flag in my mind when I catch myself not even saying I'm going to run because of these positive things. It flips itself. So now it's, if I don't, then negative thing. That's a sign to myself that I'm no longer approaching it from a healthy standpoint. Like, I have to do this or this bad thing. Like, no, you don't have to. Quit framing it in terms of avoiding negative things. We're supposed to be positive framing. What do I want to do because it genuinely makes me feel good, makes me happy, and brings me joy.
Last but not least, you know we were going to get to this one, social media consumption. So the first thing that comes to mind is taking the time to unfollow accounts that don't make you feel good. If it does not bring you positivity, and I'm not saying this from a toxic positivity lens in any regard. I'm saying if you're consuming this, if you know you're a user who uses it daily, because our phones are okay, sorry, scratch that. If the account doesn't make you feel good, unfollow, unsubscribe, delete. It doesn't even necessarily have to be, an hour that you set aside. It can be as you scroll, consciously being like, no, this blogger doesn't make me feel good. I feel like she portrays everything to be super perfect and it's just making me feel bad about myself. Or, you know what? I used to think this account was really funny and now I don't. It just bothers me. Or, this person is no longer in my life and we've parted ways and I don't need to see what they're up to.
There might be periods of time where social media isn't working for you. It's not your friend, and it is okay to take a little break. I mentioned at the top of the episode that I hadn't opened Instagram in a very long time, and it was because Instagram figured out that I'm a sucker for anything animal. So they would show me all these animal videos, and some were really cute and funny and made me laugh, but some were heart-wrenching. I realized I needed a break of not just a few days. I needed a break because that was something that really impacted me. And just because I closed Instagram didn't mean I felt better. Like I couldn't get away from it.
That's the key right there. How do you feel when you log off?
Yeah.
And we know we've talked about
disturbed.
this. We've dedicated entire episodes to this. I mean, you were traumatized. I remember I was in CVS. I remember the phone call. You were like, I'm done.
I can't get it out of my head.
I can't open this app anymore. Yeah. This is impacting me on multiple levels and it's still stuck with you.
Yeah.
So what we consume really, really matters. And it's up to us to take a pause, take inventory of how are we feeling, because it's impacting us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We hope today's episode gave you some insights into how you can take inventory of your life to get that balance back and to consume things that make you feel good.
Yeah. So make some conscious choices because you are the one in control.
If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. We'll see you next week. Peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light.
The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers. So full of wellness.